Satellites, there were Egyptian priests sneaking into temples with coded scrolls and Mongol scouts watching your army from just over the ridge. Spycraft isn't just a Cold War thing, it's human nature with a fake moustache. From ancient pharaohs whispering in palace halls, to Cold War agents swapping secrets in gloomy Berlin cafes, to modern hackers typing in basements with 5 monitors, and too much Red Bull espionage has always been how the powerful stay powerful. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into thousands of years of deception, double crosses, hidden daggers, and yes, poisoned letters. This is Spycraft through the ages, from ancient Egypt to modern CIA. Espionage is as old as organized society. The moment humans figured out how to form armies, alliances, or trade routes, someone else figured out how to sneak around and ruin them. Ancient Egyptian pharaohs didn't just rely on brute force, they had informants planted among their own people, watching for dissent like ancient security cameras with sandals. Meanwhile, Mesopotamians used clay tablets to send encrypted instructions. The technology may have been low-res, but the paranoia was high-def. The Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu famously wrote in The Art of War that foreknowledge cannot be gained from ghosts and spirits, but from people, those who know the enemy's situation. Translation: real intelligence comes from real spies, not divine inspiration. Even the Bible features spies, like when Moses sent 12 guys to scout Canaan. And Greek mythology, absolutely packed with deception. Odysseus basically invented fake IDs. So what drove all this sneaky behavior? The same things that still do: wars, politics, money, revenge, and good old-fashioned human nosiness. Whether it was a city-state wanting to outmaneuver its neighbor or an empire needing to suppress rebellion, information was power and disinformation was even better. Spycraft wasn't an optional extra, it was survival. And as we're about to see, every era sharpened its own version of the dagger in the dark. Welcome to the time of pyramids, togas, and daggers hidden in scrolls. Espionage wasn't just a tool of statecraft, it was statecraft. Ancient Egypt didn't just build pyramids and worship cats, they also ran some of the earliest known intelligence networks. Pharaohs like Ramses II relied on ears of the king, agents who reported on political unrest and enemy movements. Think of them as the ancient version of state surveillance, just with less paperwork and more amulets. Over in ancient Greece, city-states like Athens and Sparta used spies to gain advantages in warfare. The Greeks were also pioneers of cryptography. One of their coolest tools, the citale, a wooden rod wrapped in parchment. Only someone with a rod of the same thickness could read the message. Basically, ancient Greek Wordle. Rome, of course, turned everything into an empire, including spying. The speculatores started as battlefield scouts, but soon became full-time intelligence agents. Their name literally means watchers. Sounds innocent enough until you realize they were also Rome's secret police. Later came the frumentarii, who were supposed to oversee grain supply, but spent more time snooping on senators and suppressing dissent. Bureaucracy meets Big Brother. Even Julius Caesar knew the value of secrecy. He wrote messages in cipher, shifting letters to make sure his orders didn't fall into enemy hands. He wasn't just crossing the Rubicon, he was encrypting it. The ancient world might have lacked satellites and microchips, but make no mistake, they had spies, secrets, and sabotage down to a fine art. Welcome to the Middle Ages, where kingdoms rose, fell, and occasionally stabbed each other in the back, using hired informants in chainmail. The Byzantine Empire took espionage very seriously. They developed a well-organized spy network known as the Bureau of Barbarians, a name that sounds like a Viking-themed metal band, but was actually the office handling foreign diplomats and tracking their every move. They even intercepted and forged letters, basically medieval Gmail with more daggers. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, caliphates used agents known as munafiq to spy on internal dissent and enemy factions. They weren't just watching borders, they were watching their own people too. Trust but verify. Or in this case, don't trust and still verify. But if anyone made espionage stylish, it was Elizabethan England. Sir Francis Walsingham, Queen Elizabeth I's spy master, was basically MI6 in a rough collar. He uncovered Catholic plots, intercepted coded letters, and broke assassination conspiracies with ruthless efficiency. One of his more infamous tricks, letting Mary, Queen of Scots, write secret letters, then reading them all before she did. Across the Channel in Renaissance Italy, espionage was practically an art form. Italian city-states like Venice and Florence relied on spies disguised as merchants, clergy, and diplomats. Think Machiavelli meets Mission Impossible, but with more ink stains and fewer explosions. Spycraft in this era wasn't just about war, it was about power, trade, and political survival. And if you think betrayals were rare, you've clearly never read a single Italian family's Christmas card from 1492. The Enlightenment may have been an age of reason, but spies were still the unreasonable ones hiding under your carriage. During the French Revolution, paranoia ran so high that everyone was spying on everyone else. The Jacobins, the Girondins, even the bakers probably had dossiers. Revolutionary leaders used secret police and code systems, while aristocrats tried to smuggle information out using invisible ink and clever couriers. It was like a live-action escape room, except failure meant guillotines. Napoleon took it to another level. He understood that deception was just as powerful as cannon fire. He'd feed false information to enemy generals, leak fake invasion plans, and even publish fake newspapers to manipulate morale. One of his generals once said, "In war, the truth is so precious, it must be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies." Churchill later reused that line because espionage, like fashion, is all about recycling. In Britain, the government grew increasingly fond of spying on radicals, revolutionaries, and just about anyone with a loud opinion. They feared French-style uprisings, so they hired informants to infiltrate labor movements and track political meetings. So yes, the guy with the thick sideburns at your pamphlet reading, probably a snitch. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic during the American Revolution, George Washington didn't just cross the Delaware, he built one of the most effective spy rings of the era, the Culper Ring. They used coded messages, dead drops, and even messages written in invisible ink activated by heat. One spy, Anna Strong, hung laundry in specific patterns to signal messages. Spycraft and spring cleaning, two birds, one basket. By the 19th century, espionage was becoming formalized, but it still depended on courage, creativity, and the occasional carrier pigeon with trust issues. If the ancient world invented spycraft and the Renaissance refined it, the 20th century strapped a jetpack on it and launched it into total overdrive. Let's start with World War I. Espionage went industrial. Countries set up vast networks to intercept communications, forge passports, and smuggle agents behind enemy lines. Famous figures like Mata Hari, the exotic dancer turned German spy, captured headlines and imaginations, though her actual intel value remains debated. Regardless, she got executed and immortalized. Moral: don't mix espionage with cabaret. Then came World War II, where spycraft became a full-on science. The British had Bletchley Park, where mathematicians and crossword enthusiasts helped crack the German Enigma code. Alan Turing and his team essentially invented modern computing just to read Nazi mail faster. The war was fought with bullets, but often won with brains and cryptanalysis. The Americans had the OSS, Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner of the CIA. They created exploding cigars for Castro, bat bombs, and even tried to assassinate Hitler with underwear laced with poison. Yes, you heard that right, death by boxer briefs. Practical? No. Entertaining? Absolutely. But nothing beats the sheer spy drama of the Cold War. It was like decades of international Among Us, with real-world consequences. The CIA and KGB weren't just collecting data. They were flipping agents, running covert coups, and reading each other's mail via satellites the size of school buses. Entire cities like Berlin became giant chessboards where East and West stared each other down and occasionally swapped agents on foggy bridges, like in a spy novel with a state budget. There were moles, double agents, triple agents, and probably people who were spying on their own reflections. The paranoia was so intense that people suspected their goldfish might be listening devices, and honestly, some probably were. By the time the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, espionage had changed the course of wars, toppled governments, and launched entire careers in fiction. But the real stuff? It was wilder than the movies ever dared to be. Welcome to the modern age where spies don't need disguises, they just need Wi-Fi. In the post-9/11 world, intelligence agencies went digital, global, and seriously ambitious. The NSA practically became a data vacuuming black hole, collecting everything from your texts to your grandma's Facebook likes. Thanks to whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, the world got a peek behind the curtain and promptly threw their webcams in the trash. Meanwhile, cyber warfare became the new battleground. No more sneaking into embassies with forged documents, just launch a phishing email and let the virus do the work. Nations like China, Russia, Iran and North Korea built elite hacker units that could do more damage with a keyboard than a cruise missile. We're talking attacks on power grids, hospitals, elections, you name it. It's not if someone's watching you, it's how many. Private contractors got in on the game too. Former spies now work for security firms selling cyber tools to the highest bidder. Think James Bond, but freelance and with a LinkedIn page. Oh, an AI. That's becoming a spy too. Facial recognition, predictive surveillance and voice print tracking are already being deployed. Some governments can now identify a suspect in a crowd of 10,000 just from their walk. That's right, even your gate isn't safe. Then there's quantum encryption, which promises to make eavesdropping impossible unless, of course, someone invents quantum decryption. It's like a digital arms race where Schrodinger's cat is in charge of national security. Spycraft today isn't about microfilm and trench coats. It's about algorithms, drones and data, and somewhere in a room with no windows, someone is probably watching this very video. Hi, Kevin. From the NSA. For all its drama and glamour, Spycraft has always carried a heavy toll. Behind every clever cipher or daring mission lies a trail of betrayal, broken lives, and buried truths. Double agents lived in constant fear of being caught, outed, or simply abandoned by the very countries they served. Many died in obscurity, their achievements classified, their sacrifices erased. Some secrets changed the course of history, others simply wrecked families. The Cold War alone saw dozens of spies executed by firing squads or left to rot in foreign prisons. Even today, whistleblowers and intelligence defectors face exile, lawsuits, or worse. Spycraft may be a game, but it's rarely one with winners. And then there's the moral grey zone. Espionage operates in the shadows, bending laws and ethics in the name of national interest. Surveillance keeps us safe, but at what cost to freedom, privacy, or trust? Still, for better or worse, espionage shaped our world. It ended wars, started others, prevented disasters, and sometimes created them. And the scariest part? Most of it is still hidden from view. From ancient scrolls to quantum code, Spycraft has always been the unseen hand behind the headlines. Empires rose, revolutions ignited, wars ended or escalated because someone, somewhere whispered the right words into the right ear, or the wrong one. And while the tools may change from wax seals to malware, from carrier pigeons to satellite swarms, the mission stays the same. Know more than your enemy and trust no one completely. So next time you hear a story that doesn't quite add up, remember, history isn't just written by the victors. It's rewritten by the spies. Curious about how spy gadgets evolved from dead drops to deep fakes? Or want us to do a deep dive into real spy scandals like the Cambridge Five or Operation Mincemeat? Then subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the truth behind the illusion. Got a favorite spy story or theory? Drop it in the comments, and don't worry, we won't report you to MI6. Probably this is Infinitia Verity, where history comes out of the shadows.